So I came to visit my mother in California, and it was out of state. I live in another state, and I took a plane. And I told my abuser, I said, I had the decency to say goodbye to her, say, I love you. And her response was very surprising. She had no emotion. She looked kind of pouty at first, but then it was just complete vacancy. And I gave her a hug, and I said, I love you at least 3 times. She didn't respond. I think by the 3rd time she said, yeah, something like that. And so when I got to California and I arrived, my mother was there to greet me at the airport, and her husband, my stepfather, took me to their home, and I gave her a call, and she didn't pick up. I called up the rest of my family. I said, can you get a hold of her? And they said, yeah, she's not picking up for either of us. She's not picking up for us either. And so, for several days, I didn't call her. And then I think after about a week, I was thinking, I should probably call her. That's a decent thing to do. But then deep down, it wasn't really about the decent thing to do. It was about, how can I do this without feeling guilty? And if I feel guilty, that's the thing. If you do anything with guilt or because of guilt, it's no longer something that you're freely choosing to do. You are choosing to do that because you feel obligated to do it. That's not love. You should call someone because you love them and you love them freely. And my love between her has never been free. It's never been cheap. It's always been, I've had to do things for her to get her love, to get her approval. I had to hope that she would love bomb me. I had to hope that she would be in a good mood. I had to hope that today I would be the golden child instead of the scapegoat. Because I was, at the time, the only child that she was raising. And, the funny thing is the phone works both ways. And that might sound cruel, but if someone hasn't bothered to call you, and you haven't bothered to call them, there might be a reason for that. But you don't know the power of the narcissist. The narcissist goes across state lines. Their power goes across seas and oceans and even beyond the grave. And yes, it's difficult. So I just realized, I thought about this. I thought, okay, if I call her, if I call my abuser right now, what am I going to say to her? No doubt she's going to say something negative. She's going to ask some kind of question that disturbs me to the point where it just ruins the atmosphere of my day. She's going to say something, some jibe remark, some cutting edge, razor sharp remark. You know, that's how she does it. She will pull you in like a hug and then stab you. That's what she does. And I don't want to be close enough for that. I was close because I didn't know. I didn't know any better. But now I do. I was just thinking to myself, I was like, I'm happy here. You know, I'm happy bonding with my mother, who I was never able to bond with. I'm happy with the environment. And she should be happy for me too. But she isn't. She isn't calling me. She isn't talking to me. And I was thinking, why should I make an effort for someone like that? And that sounds cool. But this is about me. This is about me. I've made everything about her. My whole life, for over 20 years, I've worried about how she feels, what she thinks, what she's going to say when I do this. And it has exhausted me. And I just thought about making that phone call to her. And I thought, this is going to be an exhausting phone call. It's going to drain the life out of me. So I decided, Satan, not today. We're not doing that. I know how this works. This is how a lot of men actually do this, online and in person. A man will date a woman. It'll be the most amazing date that they've ever had, and then they will ghost them for a certain period of time, to the point where they're concerned, and they get concerned that that person isn't talking to them. So they say, what's the matter? What's wrong? Did I do something? And by that time, when you actually call them and text them to ask what's going on, they know then and there you're hooked. You fell for it. That was the trap. So this is a trap. This is a trap for me. She wants me to call her because she knows, or she thinks she knows, that I'm going to be so riddled with guilt that I'll just call her. And if it's an obligation, I shouldn't have to do that. When you're in a relationship and you feel that you're obligated to do something, that's not a relationship, that's a hostage situation. You need to be able to love that person out of your own free will because it feels good for you. If you're basing your relationship on guilt, that doesn't feel good. No, because you feel horrible. You feel like you're a horrible person for not doing that certain thing for that person. But you justify it by saying, well, I'm a good person. I should do this. I ought to do this. But really behind all that is guilt. It's guilt. And you really have to examine why you're doing the things you do. Because if you're doing it because of guilt, don't do it. Don't do something because you feel guilty about something. Many people use guilt as a means to control someone, to manipulate them, to make sure that they'll stay in their place. And narcissists use it freely. They use it all the time. If you told something that you are guilty about, your weight, your appearance, something that happened to you a long time ago, a trauma, something, they will turn it around and they will throw it in your face. And when they do that, it hurts. They hit you with it. All these insecurities, they load it up, essentially. They load it up like a gun, and they fire at you. And they use it as an arrow to just go straight for your heart. Because they know that it's going to hurt. They wait for just the right moment to throw that on you. They just wait for just the right moment to throw this bomb on you. And, you know, there's this thing called the love bombing. A bomb is a bomb, okay? Love isn't supposed to be a thing that's thrown at you like a grenade. Love is something that should come just naturally. You look at someone, you hold their hand and say, I love you. You know, there's no context, there's nothing leading up to it. You didn't do some great thing. You didn't have to do a song and dance. You didn't have to race around the house. You didn't have to do a bunch of chores to get that. It's just you exist. You're there. And you just say, I love you. You know? But if they're not just saying it because you did something for them, they're saying it because you did something for them, of course they're gonna love you. You like when people give you gifts, right? Yeah, you like when people give you gifts. You know, that's just, we like getting gifts, of course. It's so much fun. You open up a gift and you see it and you're like, ah, you know, there's a high to it, you know? There's a high, there's anticipation, you know, when they bring the package to you, they're like, yay, you know? And, but as you know, this is scientifically proven that it's the anticipation that gives you the high. It's the anticipation. Now, a narcissist doesn't get a high necessarily like we do. You know, the decent human beings, they get a high because, not because of anticipation, but because they're getting something out of the situation. It's similar to like when you like when you first get on a roller coaster and you're anticipating it's going to be scary and that's fun to you. No, this is more of like, I know this is going to break you. I know this is going to hurt. And I'm so excited to see you fall. I'm so excited to see you fail. Because that means I have the control. I have the control. I can just say one word to you and you'll just crumble. And they get a high from that. They love that. They love the fact that they could challenge you, that they could push you to the point of no return. But I can tell you, no matter how many things you do for that person, that narcissist, they're never ever going to turn around and realize, gee, this person has sacrificed so much for me. Gee, this person is really good to me. And they might say that, like, occasionally, they might say, yeah, gee, you do a lot for me. That's not appreciation, that's just an observation. They might smile at you like that, like, my abuser's done that. You're so good to me. No shit, Sherlock. I've been taking care of your ass for over 20 years, yeah. You know? Well, they know. They know that you are the stronger person. They know that you're probably going to be smarter than they are. They know that you're gonna evolve as a human being. They know there's gonna be a moment where you get so strong and smart, you're gonna leave. And they do everything in their power to get that to stop from happening. Does it work? Sometimes yes. But the thing is, with a narcissist, there will never be a moment where they're truly going to appreciate what you do for them. The reason is there's a lot of shame behind their actions as well. They feel guilty about themselves because they know what kind of people they are. You think a narcissist doesn't know? If they're intelligent enough, they know. There are narcissists that possibly don't know that that's what they are. I think a narcissist, a true narcissist, isn't going to acknowledge that that's what they are. But they do know that they are miserable. They do know that they are unhappy. They do know that they are not capable of loving themselves. What do? They hide it up. They say things that they probably do not mean. So if ever any time someone says, yeah, you're good to me, or I love you, or this is whatever it is for show. It is for show. They want to make you think that, when you visit them, or whenever you go to them, just be a visit, you're not staying there or anything. Or maybe you are. But you go over there and they want to make you think that there is some sort of reward. It's like a play to win game. You play and you play and you put all those hours in, and then they say, okay, let's wait. Wait for it. And then they end up not giving you anything. Oh, I played games like that. I never gave any money out, thank goodness. I never gave any money out. But that's how narcissists work. They're like, okay, wait for it. There's a reason you're here. There's a really good reason you're here. So just wait. Just wait a little longer. Wait a few more days. I'll come through. And then very sneakily, they're like, well, since you're here, can you give me something? Well, since you're here, can you take care of those losses? Well, since you're here, so you end up paying them. They don't pay you. If they do, that's a miracle. But they get to the point. They keep you there because they make you think. It's like a rabbit with a greyhound. They make you think that there is this great reward at the end of the tunnel, and there is nothing there. They're empty-handed. They don't have anything to give to you. They don't. If they're giving to you, there's a reason for that. There's a reason. I mean, yes, they'll give you sustenance like food and water. There's no problem with that. That's just necessary things. But I had my abuser. If I touched anything within her house, anything, and I paid rent in the house that I lived in. So I had rights to oven, microwave, everything. I had rights to that. But she would make limits. She once accused me of breaking her microwave, and after she bought a new one, she was telling me that I couldn't use it. When it comes to microwaves, it's a group effort. Everybody uses it. Even if it's just one person that's using it, everybody's involved. And microwaves just wear out, okay? They wear out naturally. It's just something that happens. And I think that's what happened to the microwave, so not that it matters. But I would touch things in her house, and she'd be like, you're eating all of my food. Like, I don't have any money because of you. I'm spending all the food. And it's on you, because you're eating it. She'd do that. And I wrote things down. I decided to write things down. I wrote things down. I wrote everything down that I consumed. Everything. And I can tell you 90% of that was mine. And now that she's living on her own, she still has no clue of why she doesn't have money at the end of the month. She still has no idea why she's not good at processing money. First of all, she's not really a human being. Secondly, she's not mentally and emotionally mature. Thirdly, she's not going to make any effort to become a better money manager. Now me, I'm frugal. But I'm also very giving. I can be anal about my money, but I can also, if somebody needs something, somebody, of course, that respects me, not just like some random person that's asking me for money. But when it comes to family, and they ask for money, No problem, no problem. I'll give it to them. But there has to be a certain kind of respect and trust. So if I trust, so yes, there's family members that I trust in my home. There's family members I trust with my money. You know, they're gonna pay me back. That's the thing. A lot of people are very, giving with their money. And that kind of comes at a price because you don't get your money back, you know. So I will give my money. If that's what it means, if that's going to help someone out, I'll give it. There's no problem with that. But I am careful with my money. I don't think that's anything that anybody anticipated. As I said, my abuser presented me to my family as being somebody who was not capable of managing the outside world. She made me out to be very challenged, and I was not. I actually had to tell my mother because she was telling something that my abuser had told her, which was that I was crazy. That I was crazy. I had these notebooks that I had written on and nobody could read it. Nobody could read the writing. The reason for that was my uncle, when I was a teenager, had given me a book. It said how to write without thinking. And it was a liberating experience for me. I just realized here is something I don't have to think about. This is freedom for me. So writing was freedom for me, and it was therapy for me. So I just used it. I used it to escape, and I used it. It was my pride. It was my joy. It was everything to me. And then she said things like, she talks to herself. I often would talk to myself because I would be speaking the character's dialogue. I would be doing things like that. I prayed out loud sometimes. So yeah, it was very simple things like that. But yes, I would talk out loud, and I think talking out loud is actually pretty healthy. In Victorian times, probably even farther back, that talking to yourself was a form of mania. That's not accurate. Because, for one thing, if you're hearing or seeing things, that doesn't necessarily mean you're crazy. That doesn't mean that you're insane. So, yeah, she told my mother that it was crazy. And I explained. Immediately, my mother was like, I understand. I said, yeah. No. Yeah. My abuser told my mother that I was essentially like schizophrenic or something. I had a very big imagination. I would often, with my Barbie dolls and my stuffed animals, I'd create worlds. I would do all of the character voices, and then when I got older to be a teenager, I would act out, scenarios in a story out loud. Yeah, it looked like I was talking to myself. It looked like it was insane. But I wasn't crazy. I was autistic, and autistic people talk to themselves out loud. Often they will have, it's called voice stimming. It's a bit, as I said, stimming is a bit like Tourette's a little bit. It's similar, but you can control it in a manner of speaking to a point. But when you're in an unfamiliar situation, or you're comfortable, or you're just really stressed out, you will do these things. You'll do little fidgets, you'll do this, you know, things like that. And sometimes you will say things, you'll say certain things. I have a friend who's autistic, and he will do this. He'll go, yeah, I mean, he looks like he's speaking parcel tongue. I mean, it's not, that's what it sounds like. And he is autistic for sure, and I know he's not crazy. I know he's very intelligent. I know his mother. I know, you know, he's a great guy. And so, you know, I'm understanding of it. Now, it was a little unsettling at first, I'm going to say. You know, it was a little bit like, what are you doing? You know, because I hadn't seen stimming before. Nobody told me about stimming. You know, I seemed to have a lot of support when I was a teenager, but then at the same time, there were a lot of things, a lot of empty spaces that weren't filled in. So I wasn't quite sure. It's kind of like, what is this? And I had to, it was on Instagram. This guy said, I'm stimming. And I figured out, stimming. Everything started to make sense. It was like, that's why I do these things. That's why I do these things. And often people get punished for it because it looks weird, or it sounds unnatural or something. And people will think, and it's often discouraged. You know, why is that dangerous to discourage someone who's stimming? Because it's a comfort thing. It's comfort. It's like, it's a security blanket for that person. It is a calming and soothing mechanism. It's something that helps you cope with your surroundings. It's something that helps with your stress levels. And if you're comfortable enough with someone, you can do that. So if they're stimming in front of you, that is an honor. That means, to that autistic person, that means I'm comfortable with you. I'm gonna do this. And especially if you're somebody who's autistic that is like me. You know, I'm very reserved. I'm like, I'm not being autistic today. I'm not being autistic today. Nope, I'm not being autistic. Harry Potter. You know, it's just like, you know, but because of ADHD, as I said, this is actually, this is something that's on the internet, but ADHD stands for attention, you know, attention deficit. Hey, donuts. Yeah. You'll keep that up really good, really well, really good. Yeah, really good. You know, you keep it up, and yeah, when it's really convenient for everybody else, yeah, you can just mask and just be, you know, be completely vacant. You can just give everybody this Kubrick stare. You just go, I feel nothing, I hear nothing, I see nothing. When really you see and hear everything. You know everything. Well, just about. No, I don't know everything. I might sound like I do, but I don't. And one of the most liberating things that I've had to be able to do is like say, oh, I didn't know that. Tell me more. Because it's okay not to know something. It's okay. It's okay. If you don't know something, that's not a failure. That's not a flaw. That's just like, you don't know something. You don't know it. You don't know it. That's not your fault. Now, if you continually don't want to know something, yeah, that is your fault. But if you're correcting that not knowingness, yes, it's awesome. It's awesome. You can just do. You could just say, hey, I've never heard of this. This has never happened. But stimming is very healthy. It's a healthy thing. It might not look great. It might not look fantastic. It might sound weird, but, you know, it's normal for them, okay? Don't expect people to make themselves uncomfortable for your comfort. You know? Do you really think that you're that important? That people should just decide not to be themselves to be around you? Is anybody asking you not to be yourself? Maybe someone is. Is it comfortable? Is it fun? No, it's not. It's not fun. When I went to live with my abuser, I had suppressed so many things. I had held so many things back and buried so many things to the point where I didn't even know what I was. I had to play archaeologist, literally, you know. I had to uncover these things about myself that I didn't know. Because I thought these things were dead. I didn't think that they were alive. I thought I was just going to find bones. It turned out most of these things were intact. They weren't dead. They were decaying. They were perfectly preserved. They were parts of myself that I had not come to terms with, and it took me a year to figure those things out. I had to make the effort to dig for these things and bring them out, and I had to have the courage to wear these things as armor, to wear them as my clothes, to wear them as, and I had to use it as flag, okay? I had to pull out my freak flag, okay? I had to. And I know there's this thing where, you know, freak is not like politically correct. But it's getting to be more of, that's more subjective. It's like, depending on who uses it, how you use it, and who you're talking about, and what the intentions are behind it. Because the words are words, okay? Words are words, okay? People will say to you, oh, that's offensive, don't say that. I mean, by all means, don't say offensive things. Don't say slang words to describe somebody. But, you know, it depends on the environment and who you're talking to, who's speaking to you, and who your friends are, who's in the room. But, you know, it's good to play it safe. You know, don't say things that are offensive. By all means, be a decent human being. That's why we don't use words. But, as I said, a word is a word. It's all about intention. And I can tell you this, that my abuser, she would look at me, she would say the cruelest words ever. And they wouldn't sound cruel. Oh no, they wouldn't sound cruel. They wouldn't sound like they were cruel. They would just sound like, you know, you'd have a perfect hourglass figure if you lost some weight, you know, things like that. And you just felt the negativity coming from it, and you felt that energy coming from it. So it's really the energy and the intention. That's why I promote people that say, you know, that say profanities, because not so much because, you know, I'm this, you know, I approve of people saying profanities because they need to express themselves, and if they need to express themselves using profanities, that's fine. Do I want to hear them use a bunch of slang words to describe certain people? No, I don't. But if the slangs are not like racist or something, you know, they should be able to use their languages as much as possible. And they've actually proven that people who swear more are actually more intelligent. So, and everybody just says, well, that just really shows your intelligence. Does it? Does it? You know, with my family, profanity is how we express ourselves. That's what we do. We insult people with this. We tease each other with this profanity. We go back and forth, and the energy is good. So the profanity isn't hurtful. It's not hurting us because we both know each other's intentions. We know that we are joking. You know, my aunt will come in the room and I won't be saying that. She'll just say, shut the fuck up. She'll just look at me like this, and I'll just die. I'll be in tears. I'm laughing so hard. And, you know, we'll say things to each other. Now, if at any point it goes too far, to the point where we're like, to the point where it is hurtful, we'll tell each other. We'll be like, going too far. That hurts my feelings or whatever. And I've done that. Like one time I was teasing her, one time I was teasing my aunt about something, and finally she just said, this is not funny anymore. It's hurting my feelings. And it was like, sorry. But that rarely happens. That really happens. That really happens. We tease each other, we insult each other, and it's a joke. It's a game. It's how we bond, okay? And this is in certain cultures, believe it or not. I spoke to someone who was from Ireland, and she said that's what we do in our culture. We tease and we insult each other, and we say these, these things about, we make fun of one another, and that's how we communicate. That's how we bond. And so I was like, I understand that. I totally do. I understand that. So, and just because it's not your sense of humor does not make it wrong, okay? Now, if it's racist or it's making fun of somebody of a different culture or something, no, definitely you shouldn't be laughing at that. But, um, you know, sometimes as I said, some people say things that sound racist, but really it's just making fun of racism. So, you know, but you have to be careful who you're with, who is in the room. Not everybody has that same sense of humor, but if you see somebody laughing at a funeral, please don't bash on them, because you don't know what they've been through. As I said, I have been through some horrible things, and the only thing that helped me stay sane was my sense of humor. So it's quite possible that that is a defense mechanism. If they're making jokes about Dahmer, or they're making jokes about this or that, please don't take it personally. Don't take offense. Probably that person is very respectful, and they do genuinely love other people. It's just that in this moment, they need to have that guard up, and humor is sometimes a protection for people. Does it make it right? Does it make it wrong? It's not yours. It's not your job to tell them that, because if you get to the core of why someone is laughing at a funeral, you're like, why? This is so morbid. Why are you laughing? Why? And you might find that they're like, dude, I don't think any of this is funny. I'm just trying to survive here. So don't judge people for their survival tactics, because you don't know the way that someone is acting, whether they're rude or they're disrespectful or condescending. That might just be a survival mechanism for them. And sometimes, yes, it's not the right survival mechanism. But don't judge people. Don't judge people. Okay? First of all, that's the thing that I see. And I think somebody misunderstood me one time. Is I finally realized how to not react to my abuser. It was a triumphant moment. It was a triumph. It was an achievement for me. And somebody read this comment and they said, what gives you the right to laugh at your abuser? What gives you the right? What gives you the right to gloat? Gloat? Did you think I was gloating? Did you think I was gloating? Gloating means you're looking at somebody and you're saying, oh, you poor pathetic creature, look at you. You're down. That's fucking hilarious. I'm getting a kick out of this. That's gloating. Gloating is like, I'm up here, you're down there. It's an arrogant thing. It's an arrogant and kind of morbid thing to do. You're laughing at somebody that's down. A narcissist is always down. You might laugh at their behavior. You might laugh at the weird things that they say. But did I laugh because my abuser was suffering? No. Does she suffer because she chose to? Yes, definitely. And I feel for her. I really do. I feel because she is so miserable and unhappy. And you have to remember that a lot of what a narcissist says to you is something that they want to tell themselves. My abuser once said this. They said, how does it feel to look in the mirror and see someone so ugly? And I just looked at her and I went, tell me you hate yourself without telling me you hate yourself. I just said, I am so sorry that you are so miserable and unhappy, and I pray that you will find happiness. I pray that you will be happy. And I went upstairs and she was still insulting me. She was still insulting me. But I knew at that point You're trying to say that to yourself. Like, I know you're not talking to me. You think you are, but you're not. And at that point, I just, instead of responding with anger, I just said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel this way about yourself. She didn't understand that I knew. She just heard me say, I'm sorry that you're so miserable. I'm sorry you're so unhappy. That's what I said to her. And at that point, I knew this isn't about me, is it? This is about your insecurities. This is about your misery and your unhappiness. It never was about me as a person. It was never about my soul or my heart or my well-being. It was just about you. And that's why I have to make my life about me. I have to not call that person. I have to. Is it hard? Yeah, definitely. I have to not have contact with this person. Now I will occasionally, yes. I love her. I'll help her. Now will I allow her to get a reaction out of me? I try not to. But it's a journey. If ever I stumble, that's just because I have more growing to do. I have more healing to do. And, I'm not recommending that you go visit your abuser, or that you go see them, or you go visit, or you go to their house, or whatever. I mean, if that's what you need to do, is to avoid them completely and entirely and never talk to them again, then you do that. There's nothing wrong with that. If that means it's going to keep you happy and sane, go for it. Do it. But there is something liberating that you can visit your abuser. And when you're no longer living with them, that's great, because you can just visit them and you can say, hi, how you doing? Oh, you're still miserable. Okay, cool. I'm happy. You're not rubbing it in their face. No. You're not rubbing it in their face. No. But you're showing that you've changed. And you don't know how many times my abuser had called up my family members and said, something's changed about her. I don't know what it is. She's a completely different person. She's different. I don't know who she is anymore. And she's often, to be hurtful, she'll say, I don't know who you are anymore. It's like, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? I'm not who I used to be. I'm a little girl. A woman. And you tried to stop that from happening. And it happened. I grew up. I became smarter. I became stronger. I became better. Not better than you necessarily, but better at being who I am. I found out who I was. I found my identity. And I didn't take your word for it. So, abuse, that's the thing. It's liberating to be able to face your abuser. It's like facing your demon. It's like looking at that person and saying, bitch, you don't have any power over me. Now, should you consistently stay or spend time with them? Maybe once a week. If you can help it. Should you do it to the point where you are mentally and emotionally drained? No. But you're going to have to accept that sometimes you will never have a healthy relationship with your abuser. You can have a superficial one. Whatever helps you throughout the day, whatever helps you. I'm going to tell you, when you speak to them, I know they might seem nice and all that, and we forget ourselves all the time. Like, we forget, oh, they're not a decent human being, because you say things and they're in such a good mood, and you're thinking, okay, let's just I'll tell them that I'm doing this, and they'll be like, what? when you know they've done things that are worse. Gee, I just told you that I ate meat. I just told you that I smoked a joint. I just told you I drink occasionally. And I find myself doing this whenever I have a glass of wine. Whenever I do certain things, I'm like, I'm moderate. I don't do this. And of course, my aunt, whoever it is, they're like, you don't have to explain yourself. And it's like, because I was so busy explaining myself and justifying what I was doing. I had to go into great detail why I was going to do these things. And normal people, I mean decent people. Let's not use normal, please. People that are somewhat healthy, they will look at you and they'll know you and they'll be like, you're not an alcoholic. Yeah, you're not an alcoholic. Now narcissists will just come in and they'll be like, I'm disappointed in you. You, so disappointing. I mean, with your DNA, you can't afford to do that. With my DNA, what do you know about my DNA? What do you know about my DNA? Did you do some research? Did you go to ancestry.com and find that out? Because from what I know, my DNA does not define me. Did it give me autism and ADHD? Yes. But I defined myself. So I have to shut it down. I have to realize, okay, I don't need to justify what I'm doing. I don't need to explain what I'm doing. I'm just going to do it. It's a huge concept for me. It's going to be a huge concept for you probably. But you don't need to explain why you're doing something. You're doing it because you can. You're an adult. You can do what you want. You don't answer to anyone, except maybe God or whatever. If your higher power, okay? There's somebody that you answer to. If you don't answer to anybody, you can do what you want. And if you want, you don't have to answer to anyone, You can do that. So, and I hope this was helpful, and I hope that all of you have a beautiful, blessed day. Farewell.